Hello everyone, Rob here. So, the debate's been going on for a couple centuries. What's better, a sword or an axe? I say, a little bit of both. This is the Bardiche, one of the most iconic weapons of Eastern Europe. Right, so the Bardiche was a very popular weapon in the early modern era and in the later parts of the Middle Ages, like the 1400s, 1500s, to about, the 1700s or so when musketry and other firearms really replaced it. Now this is most certainly an axe. It is not a polearm. This is sometimes classified as a polearm, but most examples are about 5 feet tall. This one's a little shorter than that, but you get the idea. Its most distinguishing feature is this very long blade, which it's kind of sword-like and it's kind of axe-like. It's a little bit of both. It doesn't have the all the mass concentrated in one point like an axe would. At the same time, though, it is definitely not a sword. It's more, well, axe-like. It's sort of a weird hybrid of the two. The Bardiche appears to be a descendant of the Dane axe, which was brought to Eastern Europe and Russia by Norse raiders, probably sometime in the 9th, maybe 10th century, thereabouts. Well, the Norse raiders eventually did settle, like they did elsewhere in Europe, like they did in Ireland and Britain and other places, and they brought their culture with them. The locals adopted it and put their own spin on it. So, thusly, the Bardiche was born. Now, it's unknown when the Bardiche became the Bardiche, a weapon in its own right, and diverged from the Dane axe. Most historians and archaeologists put this somewhere around the early 1500s, though there is some evidence that this did occur about maybe a century or so earlier. It really depends on who you talk to and what you consider a Bardiche. One of the more common features of the Bardiche, what makes it uniquely its own weapon, is that the beard of the axe, the lower end of the blade, connects to the handle, so it doesn't have the same hook shape that a normal axe would have. The Bardiche, or similar weapons, never really gained too much popularity in Western Europe. It was more of an Eastern European thing, but I believe this is a French painting where you see a gentleman on the ground getting unceremoniously dispatched, and he's holding a very Bardiche-like object, probably a proto-Bardiche, and you got the guy up on top of the stairs looking on pretty unconcerned, pretty much armed with the same thing. Still, it never really caught on in Western Europe. Axe technology, instead of turning into something like the Bardiche, would eventually develop into something like the poleaxe or the halberd, rather than, well, the Bardiche. The Bardiche was the iconic weapon of the Streltsy, which was a Russian military unit in the 15th, 1600s, up until I think the 1720s, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, and I really don't care enough to look it up. In any case, you see them here leading a procession with, I believe that is the Tsar, and that was the weapon of choice for them. The Streltsy and others would often use the Bardiche as an improvised musket stand. Now, I don't have a musket with me, but I do have the next best thing, modern equivalent Mole on the Bay. Well, anyway, matchlock muskets at this particular point in history were very large, very heavy, and cumbersome, so they needed something to support the muzzle of it, so you can at least hope to get your bullet in the vaguely general vicinity of your enemy. These things were horribly inaccurate, and you needed all the help you can get, so you would just line it up, use it as a stand, and fire. And then this was also the era before the bayonet was invented. So if after you fired and the enemy was still coming on, you could grab your weapon by, grab the musket by the muzzle and swing it. Or, I'm just going to put this down, you could drop it. I'm not going to drop a, very expensive rifle. Anyway, so you get rid of your weapon and you already have right there at hand. You don't have to draw a sword, you don't have to draw a mace or any other weapon. It's right there. Ditch the musket, grab the Bardiche, and into the fight. Alright, now I know you're bored with the historical presentation. Let's see what this thing can do. Alright, so here we are, ready to test the Bardiche. Got a freshly sharpened blade on it. I've spent the past couple weeks sharpening it out with a whetstone, doing it by hand because, I'm way too cheap to buy a power grinder. And honestly, I don't know what I do with one, but that's another story for another day. Any case, again, this is a budget operation, so I'm going to be just tearing apart some plastic bottles just to get a feel for how the Bardiche handles and see what it does. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, first test, just a standard milk bottle, half gallon, see what happens. Ooh, that was way better than I thought it would. Hold on, let me check out the damage. Yep, cut it right in half. Not a very clean cut. I don't know if that's mostly from impact or if that's from the blade actually cutting into it. But yeah, way better than I thought. Let's get another one. Alright, so second half-gallon milk container. See what happens. not bad again. Yep, now this one was a much cleaner cut. I made sure I did more of a draw cut on it. Pulled the blade through a bit more, so it is a bit of a cleaner cut. But if you'll notice here, not very scientific, I know, but there's cracks all the way down the container itself. So this is really a lot of impact here. This is a pretty impressive impact weapon. In addition to the cutting surface itself. Let's try something a little bit more sturdy. Alright, so I have here laundry detergent containers. Bit sturdier plastic. Some a little heavier, some a little bit more robust. Really test the cutting power, also the crushing power. See how much damage it does to the actual structure of the plastic itself. Let's see what happens. Alright, so this is laundry detergent bottle. What is it? 45.4 ounce. Alright, a little thicker plastic. See what happens. That went very well. Yeah, that was a nice clean cut. Square right through it. Very effective, way more than I thought it would be. Honestly, I thought this would be more of a crushing weapon, something like just an axe, like axe or like a warhammer, something of that nature. But wow, that thing really does cut a lot better than I thought it would. You know what, I'm gonna try something different. All right, 2 bottles at the same time. I'll be hitting them side on. See if this goes through the 2 of them together. See what happens there. All right, so I zoomed in a bit. I'm gonna see what happens. 2 bottles. Gonna be cutting them. Not lengthwise, but oh, whatever. Width on like this, 2 of them together, see if I can cut through both of them. See what happens. Ready? Alright, that went really well. Really interesting thing. This thing split right down the middle. Right here. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can tell. This thing split right down the middle. The other one's perfectly intact. I don't know what happened there, but you know, hey, means I get to take another swing at him. Right. So that shows you this thing is pretty much a very good hybrid. It's a hybrid weapon. It's part axe, it's part sword. If it doesn't cut through the armor like a sword does, or into the body like a sword does, it's going to have a lot of pressure on whatever it is it's hitting. It's like an axe. I mean, this thing is an axe. It's just more sword-like, but it's still an axe. You know, it's lots of impact, a lot of energy being transferred into the target. It's not relying entirely on the cut. So that would most certainly have that would have certainly done a lot of damage if you were on the receiving end of it. So cut it again. Yep, got another stress fracture right here. The Bardiche's many things. It is not a subtle weapon. This is not, you know, like a katana, shooting Spandau, empowered pommels. Yes, heard the joke a billion times. Yeah, this is not a subtle weapon. It's not something that's gonna, like, you know, slice through cleanly and you know, it's not some razor sharp blade like that. This thing is brute force incarnate. All right, I got one more test just to see what it can do, and all right, let's get to it. This is made of some seriously thick, heavy plastic. It is going to resist pretty much anything that I throw at it way better than the other bottles. If I can break through this, you know that a human's going to be in a world of hurt if they get hit by it. Against protein powder, and just so you know, it's a whey protein isolate. I don't know if that means anything for you, but you know, what are you gonna do? Anyway, so now with the label still on, so I don't know how much the label is gonna help, but you know, skin. All right. Dented it up pretty bad. I think it's because of the plastic covering that took a lot of the impact on it. I'm gonna rip the label off and see what happens. All right, protein container number 2, test number 2. without the label on it. See if that has any difference. Maybe, maybe not. But, oh, whatever, we'll see. All right. 3, 2. Oh yeah, that helped. Yep, got a very long slash running across it right here. I don't know how well you can see that. I know the lighting's pretty terrible here, but you know, budget operation. What do you want from me, people? Any case, yeah, this is definitely a kill. Yeah, this thing will definitely hurt you. Yeah, see if I can finish this thing off. Taxation is theft! Yeah, because there's no water in it, so there's less resistance, so it just sort of bounced off. But yeah, I'm actually very pleased with the results here. This thing is, yeah, this is very dead. This is the initial hit here. Once you take the plastic wrapping off, it most certainly, that does have an effect on it. That does cushion the blow and prevent the blade from really digging in. But yeah. Alright, Bardiche cutting test. Something that I learned while I was out there swinging this thing around is that it actually could also be used as a knife or as a close quarter weapon. Now, again, its primary use is just as an axe, you know, long, big, sweeping arc. But it can also be used because of the shape of the blade. It's this long blade that goes to a point. Now, this particular one does not have a point, but you can most certainly imagine one being put on there. It could be used as a knife or practically a set of brass knuckles. In a close quarter environment, much like my basement here, or say like a peasant's hut, something like that, if you had something like a pike or some other very large weapon, you might not be able to maneuver around that well in here. Halberd, poleaxe, whatever. With this, though, this could easily be used and wielded in very close quarters. So we got Gary the Pell here. He's going to be helping us out with this. And really, without having to use the big, massive, epic swing, I mean, I just don't have the room to do that here. But what I could do, jam it up in the ribs, jam it into the side, jam it into the side, cross 1, 2. You know, pretty simple stuff. You know, again, it's really the space is really not that much of a detriment. It's actually very, very useful in close quarters. I can even press it up against the throat and pull through, much like a knife or you know, brass knuckles, punch, draw across. I can choke up. Because of the nature of the blade and the long, you know, the long curvature of it, I can just put it up against something and cut into it, rather than relying on just the sheer momentum. So it can cut, and it can just chop or crash through something. It's really a very versatile weapon. So that's it for today. I hope you found this informative and enjoyable. If you like what you saw here, you hit the like and subscribe button. If not, well, you're an adult, make up your own choices. If you're not an adult, go do your homework. Alright, see you next time. Aftermath. Aftermath, that's all that's left. The horror. Oh, the humanity. The horror.